of fiction. And I'm going to turn it this way so you guys can remember. Okay, today I picked a book. It's out of y'all's library, so some of you may have read it. Okay, I'm going to read it again. It's called The Selfish Crocodile by Austin Charles and Michael Terry. Okay, and I want you to listen. Okay, I want you to listen while I'm reading, and then think about all the things we talked about yesterday, and then we're going to talk about it afterwards. Yes? Okay, if you guys just scoot over just a little bit so Aaron won't be squished. Okay, awesome. Okay, ready? In a river deep in the forest, there lived a large crocodile. He was a very selfish crocodile. He didn't want any other creature to drink or bathe in the river. He thought it was his river. Every day he shouted to the creatures of the forest, "Stay away from my river, it's my river, and if you come into my river, I'll eat you up." So there were no fish, no tadpoles, no frogs, no crabs, no crayfish in the river. They were all afraid of the selfish crocodile. The forest creatures kept away from the river too. Whenever they were thirsty, they had to go for miles out of their way to drink in other rivers and streams. Every day, the crocodile lay in the sun on his great big back, picking his big sharp teeth with a stick. Early one morning, the forest animals were awakened by a loud groaning sound. Something was in terrible pain. The creatures thought it must be an animal caught by the crocodile. But as the bright sun came out, they saw that it was the crocodile himself who was in pain. He was lying on his big back, holding his swollen jaw and crying real tears. Don't tell anyone what happens. The creatures drew closer, but not too close. Some of them felt sorry for the crocodile. "What's the matter with him?" asked a deer. "I don't know," said a squirrel. "Maybe he's going to die," chirped a blackbird. "If that happens, it'll be safe to go in the river again," grunted a wild pig. The animals thought about it. They hung from branches, they peeked through the grass, they buzzed in the air, they shook their heads as they watched the great big crocodile, but no one tried to help. Suddenly, a little mouse appeared, sniffing the air. He ran along the crocodile's tail, then onto his stomach. The other creatures stared. Okay, someone who hasn't read this book, what do you think the mouse is going to do? Someone who hasn't read this book. Cadence? You think the mouse is going to help him? That's probably a pretty good guess. Let's find out. "Look at that mouse," chattered a monkey. "He's either very brave or very crazy," growled a lion. "He's going to be eaten for sure," said an iguana. The mouse crept along the crocodile's big neck and into his open mouth. There was a hush in the forest. The mouse took hold of something and pulled and pulled and pulled. Finally, he pulled it out, put it on his shoulder, and walked out of the crocodile's mouth. The astonished creatures began to cheer. The crocodile sat up and said, "The pain is all gone." Then he saw they shared with us. What about setting? Where did the story take place? Christian? Maybe in Africa, but maybe a little more vague than that. Taylor? Arbor, where's the setting? Maybe, yeah, in the woods, in the jungle, there's a river, right? It's a place with a river. Yeah, that would be the setting. What was the conflict of the story? Elena, can you please turn around? Thank you. What was the conflict of the story, Cadence?
The crocodile didn't like animals.
Yeah, the crocodile was kind of mean, right? What was another conflict of the story? Elena?
The other animals would have to go out like miles out of their way because the crocodile would eat them if they go near or in.
Okay. All right. What was the other one? What was the other conflict? Christian? The toothache, right? The crocodile wasn't very happy because he had some tooth pain. And what was the resolution? How'd the problem get solved? Madison. The little mouse was brave, right? And he went to go pull out the crocodile's tooth and made him feel better. Point of view. Who told that story? Aaron? The author. It was kind of like a narrator, right? So the crocodile wasn't telling the story. The mouse wasn't telling the story. Okay.
You were telling
point of view? I mean, message, sorry.
I think it was
Okay, did everyone hear what she said? That's a pretty good one. She said it's important not to be selfish because then if you're in trouble, people may not help you because you've been so mean to them. So it's important to always be kind, friendly, nice, and use the magic triad. Good. And then, so we've been talking about this whole week, fairy tales and folk tales, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want you guys to think in your heads. Think in your heads. Think really hard. Think about your most favorite fairy tale or folk tale. Think about it in your heads. Any fairy tale or folk tale. It doesn't have to be one that we've read in here or even one that's on the bookshelf. If you have one that's different, that can be your favorite, okay? But think for a minute and think really hard. Okay. What we're going to do with our most favorite folk tale or fairy tale is I'm going. Whoa! someone in the ceiling. I'm going to ask you guys to write about it. Okay. So I want you to tell me when you write it. Tell me what your favorite fairy tale or folk tale is. Okay. And you need to use at least 3 of these. Okay, so if it's a fairy tale, you'll use 3 things from this side of the board. If it's a folk tale, you'll use 3 things from this side of the board. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
To do what?
You need to when you're telling me about your favorite fairy tale, you need to say like, so I used Snow White yesterday, right? So I would say my favorite fairy tale is Snow White. I really love this story because it has magic in it. And the magic happens when blah, 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 blah. Does that make sense?
I chose Snow White.
Does that make sense? So you'll write that about your own favorite. Okay, yes, Addison?
Can we do both fairy tale and folk tale?
If you want to. It'll take you more time, but you can do that. If you want. Yes, Aaron?
I have a fairy tale. I have a fairy tale and a folk tale, but my folk tale is it's the farmer and the dell, and it's kind of a songish kind of thing.
Okay, well you need, whatever you got, hey guys, whatever you write about, it needs to include words, vocabulary from our board. Okay, and you can look at the board, I'm not going to take it away, it's going to be right up here. You can look at it so you can remember. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, let me make sure. So you're going to need 3 on the from the board. Your story needs to have complete sentences, or your little sentences, they need to be complete, okay? You need to have at least, like at the minimum, 4 sentences. That's not a lot of sentences. 4 sentences, okay? They need to be complete. And what do you start your sentences with? What kind of letter?
A capital.
A capital. And what do you end your sentences with?
Period.
Period, punctuation, exclamation point, whatever. It needs to make sense. Well, it probably won't be a question because you're writing about it. Okay. So, does anyone have any questions about that? No questions? We all understand what we're doing?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So. What is fiction?
Folk tale teaches you a lesson.
Right. So I like
It also messes up the fairy tale.
which means.
Fairy tales do too. Teach lessons on fairy tales.
Hey guys, look at me really quick. When you're writing, I want you to expand a little bit on your.
What is that?
I'll tell you. Expand a little bit on your thoughts. So I don't just want to see you write, I like this story because it's magic. I like this story because it has love. I like this story because.
You need to write like, I like this story because it is funny and it makes me laugh.
Okay, but then you should tell me what makes you laugh about the story. Don't make it so vague, okay? So like, I like this story because it has magic. My favorite magical part is when whatever. Does that make sense? I don't just want to see you list 3 things because then that doesn't show me that you know what they mean. that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so expand a little bit on your thoughts, okay? Don't just make a list. Who can remember the 2 books that we read yesterday? What 2 books did we read yesterday? Aaron?
We read Stella Luna and the Crafts.
Who remembers what kind of bats we read about in our non-fiction book? Shan? Dog-faced bats, good. Okay, so we talked about yesterday the differences between what kind of books? Zane?
Like non-fiction
Non-fiction, fiction, good. So today we're gonna make a chart, just like we did with fairy tales and folk tales. We're gonna make a chart, and we're gonna compare. I wrote the verses for those of you that have to do that one time. So, someone give me a trait of fictional books. Aaron.
Fiction book. It has
Okay. So, illustrations are drawn.
not illustration.
Illustrations are the same things as pictures. Yeah. Someone give me another thing for fiction. Arbor?
That they're not real.
They're not real.
Well, I mean, it's a realistic fiction. That's a book.
Right, but it's not a completely true story, right? It's got elements of that could be real that could actually happen, like the Patricia Polacco books that we read, Mr. Lincoln's Way. It's a realistic fictional book because that sort of situation could happen, but it wasn't a true story. Does that make sense? Madison?
Sometimes in the very first page when we back can tell some of that story when you read it.
What do you mean?
Like it says like on the back it shows some type of
Oh, for which one? Nonfiction? Okay.
and it's also fiction.
And fiction, so kind of like a is that what you're talking about? Like a summary of the book? Is that what you're talking about? I'm not sure exactly.
They have them on Majesty House books, can I show you?
Yeah, go show me. Show me an example of what you're talking about.
Look on the back. It's talking.
Okay.
I think it has like on here. I'm not sure which one.
Oh. Okay, so kind of like something that might get you interested in the book?
Yeah.
Like a little blurb that says, you know, what's going to happen, you have to read to find out, kind of like that?
Jack and Annie are going on another adventure.
Okay.
To do
How should I write that? How should I write that?
There's a blurb on the back that's going to tell you what's going to happen.
Okay.
Usually in movies they call it like a trailer. Sometimes.
Okay, I like that. We'll use that. So like, there is I'll put it in quotes, trailer on the back
Please turn those.
to get you interested. Will that make sense if I
Or
read that?
it'll tell you what's going to happen or something. But
Okay.
it's not going to tell you a bunch of things.
Well, yeah, they don't want to tell you all the clues, all the things that happen in the story, because then you won't need to read it, right? Then it would kind of be pointless. Give me, like, one more thing for nonfiction so we can kind of even out our chart. Henry?
It's not even. There's two, see? Yeah, there's two more.
Oh, okay, well then give me 2 more for nonfiction.
Gives you.
It doesn't have to be even. I want at least one more thing for nonfiction. Aaron?
In nonfiction, usually, well, there's fiction, there's usually a problem that can solve it.
Okay.
Nonfiction,
There's not usually a problem. Okay. Henry?
well, it shows like photographs of monkeys.
Yeah, we got that one. The second one is actual photographs. Christian?
It'll usually
fiction books like what we have in school. They have like little did you know and all those like facts.
Okay, do you want to call those, do you want to put captions? For, okay. So, captions. We can say to the side or under pictures, right?
Yeah.
That tell us more about the picture. Okay, we can stop there. I think that's a pretty good list. Do you guys think this is okay?
Fiction
Yeah.
wins.
Fiction. Okay. All right, good job. I'm gonna leave this up, and we're gonna do a an activity with it. Okay, this afternoon.
And when are we gonna write our fairy tales?
Never. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I always